Solega Mapanga. I work at UWC Cape Flats Nature Reserve, and today we are just going to learn how to propagate Cineraria geifolia. It's one of my favorite plants that is found in Cape Flats Nature Reserve. It have nice, pretty yellow flowers, lazy flowers, so it falls under the family Asteraceae. So what you are going to need, you are going to need your secateurs. If you don't have a secateurs, you can use a pair of scissors. You are going to need propagation media, which I'm going to use polystyrene and fine bark. I'm going to mix it together. If you don't have fine bark, you can use a river sand or any other soil that you have. So you can see river sand. And then you're going to need a container where you're going to put your soil in. So I've recycled this container and this is what I'm going to use. And you're going to need a label. So on your label, you're just going to write the name of the plant and the date when you're propagating it. Or you can just buy a label from your retail nurseries. And then we are going to need rooting hormone. If you don't have rooting hormone, you can still propagate this plant. It's quite easy to grow. It roots quickly. So you're going to need a string, and you're going to need a clear plastic bag. So now I have my rooting hormone. So here's a clear plastic bag. So I have my propagation media now. So what you are going to need beforehand, you are going to, while you're still preparing, you are going to water your soil and make sure that it's nice and firm. So it mustn't be wet, it must be nice and moist. If it's too wet, then your plant is just going to rot, it's not going to root. And what we are looking for is rooted cuttings so that we can multiply those plants in our garden. And you need a stick. So what you do with your stick or your old pencil, you open just holes for your cuttings. You do this just to make sure that your cuttings, when you insert them into the soil, they don't get damaged, because once they are damaged, there's high chances that they are just going to rot and they won't rot. So you, in the morning, you will try and go out early and collect your cuttings. And then, so this is what I've cut. And you will see that here I've got a stem. So below the node, a node is found where there's a leaf. So you can see your leaf is there. So below the leaf is your node. So we are just going to cut. You can see here is another node. We're just going to cut below the node. Remove that excess material. We'll remove the lower leaves. That is the part that is going to go into your soil. And you can see here you've got, that's where you find your flowers and your new growth. It's quite soft and you don't need it, because if it's soft, then your plant is just going to try by all means to keep it alive. So you just remove that, the excess material. You just make sure that you've got a nice clean cut. So you are left with 2 leaves. I'm just going to make it shorter. So you have your cutting there, and then you can dip it into your rooting hormone, into your soil, insert it into your soil. Just make sure that it's nice and firm. And then we look for another cutting now. You see that part is all soft, so we remove it. Cut below the node. You remove the excess cutting, the excess leaves, the lower leaves. I'll remove this one also. Just leave that one into the rooting hormone, into my soil. So the ones that I did earlier, so I'm just going to take them, and this one I'm just going to stick them straight into the soil. See which ones are going to root quickly. One has rooting hormone and one doesn't have rooting hormone. into my soil. Depending on your mother plant where you collected your cuttings. If the plant is pretty big, you can do a longer cutting, but if your plant is smaller, preferable just do a 7 centimeter long cutting. And then into your soil. So when you are done with that, so there are your cuttings. And the next thing when you have your cutting is your label. Remember, in your label you have a name of the plant and the date when it's propagated. Okay? Then you just stick it into your soil. Make sure it's nice and firm, it doesn't fall. Then you take your plastic bag, your clear plastic bag. So your plastic bag, you can put your cuttings like this in a nice cool spot with enough light, or you use a clear plastic bag, you put them in there, the clear plastic bag. What the clear plastic bag does, it just creates a mini reserve, a mini greenhouse. You know, when you work in the reserve, you always thinking about reserve. Okay, so you put it in there, plastic, and then you blow in your carbon dioxide in there. Even if you don't blow in, your plant will still do that on its own. And then you tie it with your string. That was quick. It's less than 5 minutes doing this. You've got your cuttings there, they are ready. So you just put them in a nice cool spot. It can be either your kitchen, your bathroom, or next to the sink. I've put mine on top of the fridge because that's where I've got enough light and no one is going to disturb them. Okay, bye. See you next time.